We already prepared a lot of the groundwork for social login on the server, but didn't finish all the pieces. So before I step into the client-side changes needed for social login, let's discuss some of the required server-side work. I had to include support for the exists functionality that works based on a social token. I also had to include a similar call in the UserWebservice class. I also have a similar subtle change to the regular exists method. The argument name was phone and is now v, which means I can invoke all three web services with very similar code on the client side. That's it pretty much. Everything else was already done. Social login lets us authenticate a user without getting into the username password complexity. This is usually almost seamless on devices where the pre-installed social app is invoked explicitly and the user just needs to approve the permission. This is defined as a low-friction approach to authenticate the user and is often superior to phone number activation. In Codename 1, this is pretty trivial to accomplish, especially for Google and Facebook login, both of which are built into Codename 1 and to Android/iOS respectively. Connection to social networks in Codename 1 has several common concepts. If the device has native support or social app installed, this native integration will perform a login. If it doesn't, but we are on the device, the native SDK will show a web-based login. If we are on the simulator, we will fall back to an OAuth-based login. This leads to a situation where login might work on one device but fail on the simulator or fail on a different device type. It also makes the configuration process a bit more tedious. To be fair, the native configuration is much harder and involves more code. Since the driver app is physically a separate app, we'll need to redo some of the steps and effectively go through everything twice. A core concept of the login process in Facebook is the app, which is a Facebook internal term unrelated to your actual app. Facebook's view of an app is anything that uses the Facebook Graph API and authentication. In this case, we need to create a new app and should name it like we do our actual app, so the user will be able to identify it. The steps are pretty easy. We navigate to developer.facebook.com/apps and press the Add a New App button. Next, we need to select the product we are trying to use, and we need to select Facebook Login. Once there, we are presented with a wizard containing multiple steps to set up your app. You need to run through the wizard twice, once for iOS and once for Android. The content of the wizard changes, but the gist is the same. We don't really need much information and can skip almost everything. The first step is download and install the Facebook SDK for iOS. This is obviously unnecessary for us, so we can just press Next. The second step is add login kit to your Xcode project. Again, there is no need to do anything and we can press Next. The third step is add your bundle identifier. It's more interesting. We need to enter the project package name here and press save. Then we are effectively done with iOS, as everything else is more of the same. The Android wizard has one task that is a bit challenging, but other than that it should be trivial. Before we begin, we need to generate key hashes for Facebook, which need to be done on your development machine. To do that, you will need a command line with the JDK's bin directory in your path. You will also need the path to the Android key store you use for signing. You can find this file in the Android signing section in Codename One settings. If there is no certificate file there, make sure to generate it. Once all this is in place, you can use this command line for Linux Mac. This will provide the SHA-1 key you will need in the Android wizard. Similarly, on Windows, the command follows a similar structure but uses Windows command line conventions. Now that this is out of the way, let's go over the Android wizard steps. The first step is download the Facebook SDK for Android. This is obviously necessary for us, so we can just press next. The next step is import the Facebook SDK. Again, there is no need to do anything and we can press next. The next step is tell us about your Android project. We need to specify the package name for the application, which in our case is com.codename1.apps.uberclone. We also need to specify the main class, which is ubercn1 stub. The main class is effectively the main class name with the word stub with an uppercase S appended at the end. We can then press next. After I pressed next, I got this warning because the app isn't in the store yet. Facebook thinks I might have typed the package incorrectly and provides this warning, which we can ignore. And finally, we are at the add your development and release key hashes. Here we need to add the hash we got before and press next. The rest of the wizard isn't important. Before we proceed, we need to enter the Facebook dashboard and copy two values, the app ID and app secret, which we will need when we set up the code.